Well, let's head straight to that police news conference.
Kyrees Sullivan and Harvey Evans, two friends who live in the community of Ely. Our thoughts are with the families and friends of Kyrees and Harvey and everyone affected by this terrible incident. We can only begin to imagine the grief they are experiencing at this time. Their families continue to be supported and updated by family liaison officers. I am aware of concerns in the local community regarding the timeline of events which culminated in the fatal collision, including CCTV footage which shows a police vehicle following a bike in Frank Road. Therefore, I want to confirm the timeline of events which took place as we know them at this time. We would have liked to provided this level of information yesterday, but this is a complex investigation and we had to be sure of the facts before confirming them. We have been busy obtaining witness accounts, analysing tracking data from police vehicles and studying CCTV, and this is what we know now. 17:59:40, CCTV shows the bike travelling towards the police vehicle in Frank Road. The bike then turns around. 18:00:52, the bike is followed by the police vehicle, which you have already seen on CCTV images. Neither blue lights or sirens were in use. 18:01:18, police vehicle is at New Ely Church roundabout and travels through Archer Road, Stanway Road and Howell Road. 18:02:31, police vehicle turns onto Grand Avenue. 18:02:18 to 18:02:41, this is the approximate time of the road traffic collision on Snowden Road. At the time of the collision, the police vehicle is in Grand Avenue, half a mile away from Snowden Road. 18:06:59, the police vehicle is on Cowbridge Road West when it receives information about a road traffic collision. Officers illuminate blue lights and make their way to the collision scene. There was no police vehicle in Snowden Road at the time of the collision, and we believe there were no other vehicles involved in the incident. We have based this on witness accounts, tracking data and CCTV. We have made a mandatory referral to the Independent Office for Police Conduct to ensure the matter receives independent scrutiny. We will provide them with all the information we have and they will undertake an independent investigation. I will now turn to the violence and disorder which happened in Ely on Monday night. Nothing can excuse this. Property was damaged and people were scared in their own homes. Our focus now is to fully cooperate with the IOPC investigation into the circumstances of the collision and to investigate the appalling scenes that followed. We are appealing for witnesses, information and footage from mobile phones and social media. We have already recovered around 180 pieces of body-worn video footage from police officers at the scene, and this number is expected to grow. Officers are also going through hundreds of hours of public CCTV and videos posted on social media. Anyone aware who has footage of Monday's events can upload it to our link on our website. We are extremely grateful for the support of the community so far and urge anyone with any information to come forward to us. I will now take questions.
Can you just confirm what this assumed chase was about? Why were you following the two boys on the bike? And what was the last point at which the police were actively following it? Listening to your time codes there, if I got them correctly, it seems to be just a few seconds before the fatal collision. That, of course, contradicts what we initially thought, that there was no police chase. So what was the cause for the chase, and at what point did you stop chasing?
I want to be as transparent and open as I can with the communities of Ely so that they understand what has happened. I've set out the timeline based on the factual information that we have. But the IOPC are conducting an independent investigation regarding whether any pursuit has taken place. So I can't fully answer your question today, and for that I apologise.
Why did you let the line that speculation about a chase were false rumours circulating in the community? Why did you let that persist for so long, well into Tuesday?
Situation yesterday morning was still very unclear. I've explained to you the huge amount of work that has had to be undertaken to get to the point where we are. I would have wanted to speak to our community sooner, and I haven't been able to because we haven't had that level of information.
You let the Police and Crime Commissioner go out to the media and say that these were false rumours.
The Commissioner was very clear in his interviews that the situation was uncertain, but that there was no police car following the e-bike at the time of the collision. As you know, Alan has a very close relationship with the communities of Ely, and he wanted to give as much information as he could as soon as possible.
Okay, but do you regret that initial messaging from the police force and the Commission?
All I can tell you is that we have done our best in the circumstances we face with the information we've had. We've been honest and direct. I'm here today to give you the information I have now. I've still got hundreds of hours of investigation that will need to take place. I know you're not going to get every answer you want today, but speaking to the communities of Ely, we are here to protect you. We absolutely understand that it was a terrible night, and we need to focus on bringing those offenders to justice.
The BBC has just seen footage in the last half an hour that is time coded from 1801. It's from Stanway Road. It shows two boys on their bike coming up from Archer Road following the police. Now this seems to contradict your timeline, because it seems as though the only reason they couldn't get on to the road where the crash happened was at bollards at the end.
I've been really clear that I've given you factual and accurate information to the apps. Would you let me finish? Thank you. Absolutely, to the best of my knowledge at this moment in time. I have told you that I have hundreds of hours of CCTV. I could have waited, could have not come here today to try and talk about what we know and the timeline as we understand it. But I'm here today to talk to the communities of Ely, to let them know that we absolutely understand their concerns, that we're listening to what you are saying to us on their behalf about their worries, about the accuracy of what we've said. What I've told you is accurate, but there is other information. I've been really clear that we've still got an awful lot of CCTV to view, and of course that will be much now by the IOPC as they have taken independent investigation, and I'm sure that they will keep you updated with their progress.
We speak to a lot of people in Ely, and they've talked about the distrust in the police over the years, the process of events and the way this timeline has been handled. This has damaged your credibility, wouldn't you say? And it's fair to say that this is not having been said in the people of Ely.
We're absolutely passionate at protecting the people of Ely. We have a dedicated neighbourhood policing team. We want to reach out to them, we want to work with them. It didn't go as any of us would have wanted on the night of the incident. It is a tragic outcome that two young men have died, and we want to understand why. And the situation that occurred afterwards in terms of people's behaviour is totally unacceptable, and I absolutely know, as you do, that the people of Ely condemn that they don't want that to be happening in their neighbourhood, and neither do we, and we will work tirelessly with them to understand what we can do to support them going forward.
We only going to take one. Excuse me, sorry. We're only going to take one question. You've asked one.
Have the officers been questioned
Take your question.
under caution? The officers in the van, have they been questioned under caution?
No, they haven't.
Are they suspended or still in work?
How do you define a chase as opposed to following?
Thank you.
Well, there, as journalists continue to fire questions, the news conference ends. The police under considerable pressure there in terms of the initial information they put out. Worth just showing these pictures again before I recap what the police have just said, because these new pictures, BBC has obtained verified footage of the two teenagers who died in Ely. These pictures were taken at 17:58 in terms of the time on May the 22nd, and that was about 5 minutes before South Wales Police say the accident occurred. Now, let me take you through the key planks of what we heard there from police, because, of course, I referred to what they initially said in the hours after that accident and collision, but they were very, very keen to talk about the timeline of events. The officer saying they would have liked to actually give the information she was giving yesterday, but said it was a complex investigation where they've been studying CCTV, they've been looking at tracking data, they've been interviewing witnesses, and the timeline that she provided, and she went through it in minute detail. She talked about 1759 shows the bike, and then she said that 1800 the bike was followed by a police vehicle. Now, those were the pictures that we saw yesterday that appeared on CCTV, and she made the point that neither a blue light or a siren was used at that stage. Then over the next couple of minutes they went through the various streets the vehicles had been in, and saying that at 1802 the accident happened in Snowden Road, and made the point that the police vehicle was half a mile away in Snowden Road. The most recent picture of the boys and the families of the two boys, Harvey Evans, who was 15, and Kyrees Sullivan, 16, who died in that collision. Well, the family's paying tribute to the best friends in a statement saying they were loved by not only their families but by their community as well. And just to go back to what the police were saying, they made the point that after news of the accident, that police vehicle they were talking about, the one that we'd seen in the imagery at 1800, they then went to Snowden Road, they put on their sirens, and they continue, they say, to take witness statements, to look at more CCTV, but then turn to the violence which they said followed in the hours, saying nothing excused that, and they were investigating the appalling scenes that followed. So those some of the key lines from that news conference. Thomas Morgan was there listening to it, and Thomas, as you joined us, that news conference ended with more questions being fired at the police, but it being brought to an end, but under considerable pressure about the information they released, not today necessarily, but yesterday.
Yeah, that's right. Still, I mean, the main part of this press conference from Deputy Chief Constable Rachel Bacon was talking through the timeline of events as the police have put it together so far. They've been tracking a police vehicle, timestamp codes from where the vehicle has been, and CCTV that they've been able to get hold of as well. And they have come to the assumption that when the collision took place and where the fatal crash took place, that the police that were following them were on Grand Avenue, just a couple of streets down. Now, I also asked them, you know, the way that this has been handled by the police. You had the Police and Crime Commissioner on radio early morning yesterday saying no chase had taken place at all. That was just rumours, and still saying that this morning, still saying that perhaps a pursuit had taken place some point before the crash. We still haven't got more details about why possibly police were following them. That is because Deputy Chief Constable Rachel Bacon has said because they've referred themselves to the IOPC, she can't go into any more information about why potentially the police were following the two boys yesterday. But I also asked her about the credibility and the trust in the police now, because, you know, I've been in that community for the past 24 hours and people were speaking about distrust in the police even before we had this new video footage yesterday. And I think, you know, in the way that this has come out, the different in terms of the timeline coming out, I think, you know, certainly yesterday and this morning, that distrust, it possibly has got worse in the way that this has been handled.
I was going to ask you exactly on that point, because the police there are keen to stress about the violence, the unrest, said there were absolutely no excuses for that. But how much anger is there still in the community?
There is a lot of anger. There isn't any police presence from when we were there earlier, just before we came to this press conference. That may be a tactical decision, I'm not sure, but I certainly think that a police presence there now, because of the heightened emotion, possibly wouldn't be the greatest thing, because the emotions are high, especially around where the crash scene took place. You know, and when we talk about the violence that took place as well, of course, there's almost two stories here, isn't there? There's the crash and how that happened, and then there's the violence. They're two separate things. The IOPC is looking into how the police handled the events prior to the crash, but when it comes to the violence, that was touched upon just now by the Deputy Chief Constable, and she was saying, of course, you know, that was abhorrent. Seems like that should not be happening at all, and they are trawling through hundreds of hours of footage. They're going through hundreds of hours of social media footage, and they're going to about 180 hours of police footage already, and more arrests will most likely happen soon.
Thomas Morgan there in Cardiff. Thanks very much for the latest on that important story. You're watching BBC News.